You've been lied to your entire life. They told you masturbation was dirty, shameful, something to hide from your wife, your doctor, even yourself. But here's what no one told you. After 60, not masturbating could be the difference between maintaining your masculine vitality and watching it slowly disappear forever. My name is Dr. Richardson, urologist and professor at Johns Hopkins Medical Center. For over 30 years, I've treated thousands of men just like you, and I've discovered something that will shock you. I've witnessed silent consequences destroying good men, not from disease, not from aging, but from what they never knew about their own bodies and what happens when sexual function shuts down. The truth is, most men over 60 either masturbate the wrong way or stop completely, not realizing the biological catastrophe they're creating. Yes, done wrong or avoided entirely, you're setting yourself up for erectile dysfunction, depression, prostate complications, and cardiovascular decline. But done right, you're actually supporting testosterone production, improving sleep quality, and maintaining healthy blood flow. In just a moment, I'm going to share 7 critical secrets about masturbation that every man over 60 should have learned decades ago but never did. Stay with me. What you're about to discover might completely change how you approach the next 10 years of your life. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. I create honest, science-based insights specifically for men in your stage of life. Content you won't find in your typical doctor's office because most physicians are too uncomfortable to discuss these realities. If what I'm saying resonates with your experience, type 1 in the comments. If you think this is nonsense, type 0. Your feedback helps me create content that genuinely serves men who need this information but have nowhere else to get it. Now let's get into the medical facts. Starting with the first dangerous misconception that's been quietly damaging men's health for decades. Last month, Harold, a 67-year-old retired engineer, sat in my office with tears in his eyes. This was a man who had built bridges, managed teams of hundreds, raised 4 successful children, but he whispered to me, "Doc, I haven't, you know, touched myself in over 3 years. My wife passed, and I just figured that part of my life was over. But now I can barely urinate. I'm up 6 times a night, and I feel like there's constant pressure down there." What Harold didn't realize was that his well-intentioned abstinence was creating a medical crisis. He thought he was being respectful to his wife's memory, being a good man. Instead, he was unknowingly damaging his prostate health in ways that would have shocked him. Here's what happens when men completely stop sexual activity after 60. Your prostate becomes congested with fluid that has nowhere to go. Think of your prostate like a gland that produces fluid. It's designed to empty regularly through ejaculation. When you stop completely, that fluid builds up, creating inflammation, swelling, and pressure. The prostate sits right around your urethra, the tube that carries urine out of your body. As it swells from congestion, it starts squeezing that tube like a clamp. Urination becomes difficult, incomplete, frequent. You develop what we call prostatitis, an inflammation that can be incredibly uncomfortable and lead to serious complications. But here's the part that really disturbed me about Harold's case. This congestion doesn't just affect urination. The inflammation spreads, affecting nerve function, blood flow, and even your body's ability to produce testosterone. Your entire pelvic region becomes a zone of chronic inflammation. Harold's story gets worse. The constant pressure and discomfort made him avoid physical activity. He stopped his morning walks, stopped gardening, started spending more time sitting. The lack of movement worsened his circulation, his mood plummeted, and he began isolating himself from friends and family. He told me, "I stopped feeling like a man. I felt broken, useless. I was embarrassed to go anywhere because I might need a bathroom suddenly." The physical problem had become an identity crisis. He was withdrawing from life because he thought his masculinity was permanently damaged. The isolation created a vicious cycle. Less activity meant worse circulation, worse mood, more inflammation, more prostate problems. What started as respectful abstinence had become a medical and emotional emergency. I explained to Harold that his body needed regular prostate drainage, not for pleasure but for health. Just like any gland, the prostate functions best when it empties regularly. I taught him that gentle, mindful self-stimulation 2 to 3 times per week wasn't disrespecting his wife's memory. It was maintaining the body she'd loved for 40 years. The key was reframing this as medical self-care, not sexual indulgence. We're talking about 10-15 minutes of gentle stimulation focused on prostate health, not pornographic fantasy. Within 6 weeks, Harold's urinary symptoms improved dramatically. His energy returned, and he started feeling like himself again. But Harold's recovery revealed another dangerous mistake that most men make. Even when they do maintain sexual activity, they're doing it in a way that actually damages their erectile function. David, a 63-year-old retired pilot, came to me with a problem that was destroying his new relationship. Doc, I can get aroused, but I can't maintain it during sex. It's humiliating. I've been masturbating the same way for 40 years. Quick, efficient, like everything else in my life. Get in, get it done, move on. But now when I'm with Martha, nothing works the same way. David had trained his body for speed and efficiency, not sustained arousal. As a pilot, he valued precision and quick execution. Unfortunately, he'd applied the same approach to masturbation, and after decades, it had rewired his sexual response in devastating ways. He described his technique: 2 minutes, maybe 3. I'd grip tight, move fast, get it over with. I thought that was normal, healthy even. Nobody ever told me I was training my body wrong. Here's the biological reality. Your penis and brain form what we call a neural pathway based on repeated experience. When you consistently masturbate with excessive pressure, speed, and urgency, you're literally training your nervous system to respond only to that specific type of stimulation. Your penis has thousands of nerve endings designed to respond to subtle touch, varying pressure, different rhythms. But when you repeatedly use the same death grip technique with rapid motion, those nerve endings become desensitized. You need more and more intensity to achieve the same response. Worse, your brain starts associating sexual arousal with that specific type of stimulation. When you're with a partner whose touch is naturally softer, whose rhythm is different, whose interaction is more complex, your trained sexual response system doesn't recognize it as adequate stimulation. This creates what we call masturbatory conditioning. Your erectile function becomes dependent on an unrealistic level of pressure and speed that no human partner can provide. The irony is devastating. The thing you thought was maintaining your sexual health was actually destroying your ability to function sexually with another person. David's relationship with Martha was failing. He'd developed performance anxiety so severe that he started avoiding intimacy altogether. I'd make excuses, say I was tired, pick fights so we wouldn't end up in bed. I felt like a fraud. Here's this wonderful woman who cares about me, and I can't perform like a man should. The shame spiral was destroying not just his romantic relationship, but his entire sense of masculine identity. He stopped exercising, started drinking more, withdrew from social activities. The sexual dysfunction had become life dysfunction. David confessed, I started wondering if I should just accept that this part of my life was over. Maybe I was too old, too damaged. I thought about ending things with Martha rather than disappointing her anymore. I taught David about sensate reconditioning, slowly retraining his nervous system to respond to gentler, more varied stimulation. This meant completely changing his masturbation technique: lighter touch, slower rhythm, longer sessions focused on sensation rather than climax. The process required patience and discipline. qualities David had as a pilot but had never applied to sexual health. Within 3 months of practicing mindful, gentle self-stimulation, his erectile function with Martha improved dramatically. He learned to appreciate subtle sensation again. But even when men fix their technique, there's still another critical mistake that's silently sabotaging their hormone production and overall vitality. Frank, a 69-year-old former school principal, sat in my office looking defeated. Doctor, I feel guilty every time I was raised Catholic, told it was sinful. Even at my age, even though my wife died 2 years ago, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. But my body seems to need it. So I do it, then I hate myself for hours afterward. Frank's internal conflict was literally poisoning his hormonal system. The shame and guilt he felt around natural sexual expression was creating chronic stress that was devastating his testosterone production and overall health. Chronic guilt and shame trigger your body's stress response system, flooding you with cortisol, the stress hormone that directly suppresses testosterone production. When you engage in sexual activity while simultaneously feeling ashamed about it, you create a biochemical contradiction that damages your endocrine system. Your brain processes shame as a threat, activating fight or flight responses that shut down non-essential systems, including sexual hormone production. You end up in a devastating cycle. You need sexual expression for hormonal health, but the shame around it destroys the very hormones the activity is supposed to support. Research shows that men who feel guilty about masturbation have significantly lower testosterone levels than men who view it as natural self-care. The psychological stress literally blocks the biological benefits. Frank's shame-based approach was destroying his mental health. Low testosterone from chronic stress was causing depression, fatigue, loss of motivation, and cognitive decline. He told me, I feel like I'm disappearing as a person. No energy, no interest in anything, just going through the motions of being alive. The guilt was also preventing him from seeking companionship. I thought, if I can't even handle my own sexuality without shame, how could I ever be with another woman? I felt too broken, too wrong. I helped Frank reframe masturbation as medical self-care, not moral failure. We discussed how his body's sexual needs don't disappear at 69, and meeting those needs isn't sinful. It's healthy maintenance of the body he was given. The transformation was remarkable. When Frank stopped fighting his body's natural needs and started approaching self-stimulation as health maintenance, his testosterone levels improved, his mood lifted, and his energy returned. Once Frank resolved his shame issues, he discovered something that shocked him. The frequency of sexual activity directly affects hormone production in ways most men never realize. Peter, a 65-year-old widower, asked me a question that revealed dangerous misinformation. Doc, my buddy told me that if I masturbate too much, I'll run out of testosterone. So I've been limiting myself to once a month, maybe less, but I feel terrible. No energy, no motivation, sleeping poorly. Am I overdoing it? Peter had been starving his hormonal system based on completely false information about how testosterone works. The myth that sexual activity depletes masculinity is not just wrong, it's medically dangerous for men over 60. Here's the biological truth. Testosterone production follows a use it or lose it principle. Regular sexual activity, including masturbation, actually stimulates testosterone production, while abstinence causes it to decline. Your body produces testosterone in response to sexual demand, not despite it. When you severely limit sexual activity, you're sending a biological signal that you don't need sexual hormones anymore. Your endocrine system responds by reducing production. This creates a cascade of negative effects: decreased muscle mass, increased fat storage, reduced energy, poor sleep quality, and mood decline. The conservation myth is backwards. Sexual activity doesn't drain your masculine energy, it generates it. Men who maintain regular sexual activity 2-3 times per week have significantly higher testosterone levels than men who abstain. Peter's monthly restriction was aging him rapidly. Low testosterone was causing muscle loss, weight gain around his middle, chronic fatigue, and depression. He'd stopped exercising, lost interest in hobbies, and was becoming increasingly isolated. I thought I was being smart, conserving my energy for when it really mattered. But nothing matters anymore because I have no energy for anything, he told me. I educated Peter about healthy frequency for hormonal optimization, 2 to 4 times per week for men over 60, depending on individual response. This isn't about pleasure, it's about maintaining the hormonal environment that keeps you feeling vital and masculine. Within 2 months of increasing frequency, Peter's energy improved dramatically. He started exercising again, lost 15 pounds, and told me, "I feel like I got my life back." But frequency alone isn't enough if you're making the next critical mistake that's destroying your erectile function through misuse. Gerald, a 71-year-old retired coach, confessed something that's becoming epidemic among older men. "Doc, I started watching porn during the pandemic when I was lonely. Now I can't get aroused without it. Even when I masturbate, I need increasingly extreme stuff to feel anything. I'm ashamed, but I can't seem to stop." Gerald had unknowingly hijacked his brain's arousal system with artificial hyperstimulation that was destroying his capacity for natural sexual response. Pornography floods your brain with dopamine levels far beyond what natural sexual experience provides. Your brain adapts by reducing sensitivity to normal dopamine levels, requiring increasingly intense stimulation to achieve arousal. This creates pornography-induced erectile dysfunction. Your arousal system becomes dependent on visual hyperstimulation that real-world intimacy can't match. Your brain literally rewires itself around artificial sexual scenarios. Gerald's porn use was destroying his potential for real intimacy. He'd started avoiding social situations where he might meet women because he knew his arousal system was broken. Recovery required completely eliminating pornography and retraining his arousal response through mindful, sensation-focused masturbation without visual stimulation. Gerald's brain gradually regained sensitivity to natural arousal cues. But even when men fix their pornography problems, there's one final mistake that's perhaps the most dangerous of all. Walter, a 68-year-old widower, told me, "I've given up on relationships. Too complicated at my age. I'll just handle things myself and avoid the hassle." Walter thought he was being practical, but he was actually accelerating his sexual and overall health decline through isolation. Human connection and anticipation of intimacy with others create neurochemical responses that masturbation alone cannot replicate. Isolation reduces oxytocin, growth hormone, and other factors crucial for maintaining sexual health as you age. Walter's isolation was creating depression, cognitive decline, and accelerated physical aging. Without the motivation and neurochemical benefits of human connection, his overall health was deteriorating rapidly. I encouraged Walter to maintain social connections and remain open to companionship. Sexual health includes the possibility of sharing intimacy with others, not just self-stimulation. James, a 72-year-old retired firefighter, hadn't masturbated in 2 years. "Doc, I figured I was too old for all that, but now I can't get erections at all, even when I try. Did I wait too long?" Erectile tissue requires regular blood flow to maintain elasticity and nerve function. Complete sexual avoidance allows this tissue to atrophy, creating permanent dysfunction. James's avoidance had created irreversible tissue changes. His erectile function was significantly compromised, and his confidence was destroyed. While some damage was permanent, Regular gentle stimulation could still improve his function and prevent further deterioration. Listen, I've been treating men like you for 3 decades. You've worked hard, built families, contributed to your communities, earned respect through your actions and character. The idea that sexual health stops being important after 60 is not just medically wrong. It's an insult to everything you are and everything you've accomplished. Your body is not broken. Your needs are not shameful. Your desire to feel vital and connected is not inappropriate at your age. What's inappropriate is the silence around these issues that leaves good men suffering unnecessarily. We've covered 7 critical truths that most men discover too late. That complete abstinence damages your prostate, that rushing through masturbation destroys erectile function, that shame literally poisons your hormones, that frequency affects vitality, that pornography rewires your brain, and that isolation accelerates all decline. But here's what I want you to understand. None of these mistakes make you broken. They make you human, and more importantly, they're all correctable. Your nervous system retains plasticity. Your hormones can recover, your tissues can heal, your confidence can return. Your body is still capable of response, pleasure, connection, and healing. Your brain can still learn new patterns. Your heart can still open to intimacy and joy. The capacity for physical pleasure and emotional connection doesn't have an expiration date. It only requires the right information and approach. You have permission to care for this part of yourself. You have permission to seek pleasure and connection. You have permission to approach your sexuality as an expression of life force and vitality, not as something shameful or outgrown. Starting today, approach masturbation as health maintenance, 2-3 times per week, gentle touch, mindful attention to sensation, no shame, no rush. Treat it like any other aspect of self-care, brushing your teeth, taking vitamins, exercising. Your goal isn't performance, it's presence. You're not trying to prove anything to anyone. You're maintaining the body and nervous system that have served you well for decades and deserve continued care and attention. You are not too old for vitality. You are not too old for pleasure. You are not too old for intimacy, whether with yourself or with others. Your sexual health is part of your overall health, and both deserve your attention and respect. What you do with this information is up to you. But know this: thousands of men have used these principles to reclaim their vitality, their confidence, and their joy in being alive. You can too. Take care of yourself. You've earned it.